Mike Bohn here in Saudi Arabia with Mike Brown, American top team coach, here for Johnny Eblen, looking to defend that Bellator title in a rematch with Fabian Edwards. Obviously, you got a whole crop of talent you work with, but we'll start with Johnny. What did you think when they brought this rematch? Obviously, the first fight went how it did. Did you think this was the right move? Or I know Bellator's middleweight division, as Johnny said, at like media day isn't the deepest. So do you think this was kind of a appropriate fight?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of the bigger names in the division. I think that, I think they don't have a ton of depth, especially where PFL doesn't have an 85-pound weight class, right? So, or they don't have a roster at this moment. But I think it's growing, and I think it'll be all right in the future. And I think Fabian's got a name, so I think in some ways it makes sense.
Yeah. Training Johnny for this, his first rematch, how receptive was he to that, to, going over the tape from the first fight, adjustments if you need it? Did you feel like he was comfortable in this moment, or did it maybe take a little pushing?
No, he's solid. Yeah. Solid mind. Very coachable, real easy to coach. No ego, and he makes big gains all the time, always improving, always getting better. Well, he's like everybody's favorite sparring partner. This guy puts so many rounds in. He's able to go with anybody in the room. The biggest guy or the smallest guy, doesn't matter, and he can and he pulls technique and ideas from everybody. So he really is on another level, and one of the absolute best guys in that gym, pound for pound.
There's been a lot of talk. I mean, some of the questions to Johnny about that first fight and be like, yeah, he almost got you, and that's a product of a cut, right? Like, I don't know. When you look at that first fight, do you feel like anything outside of the cut, there was that much of a threat?
Yeah, I mean, it's in my eyes, that's like best case scenario, because you get you learn a valuable lesson. You dodged a bullet. Like, man, you came close to losing that fight, with that cut, and it gives you stuff to work on and makes you realize how vulnerable you are, and you can make dramatic changes. And he still got the win. So I think there's so much we can take out of that. Had he rolled through him, then you don't learn a lot from it, and you continue to make the same mistakes. And I think that was one of the best case scenarios, to be honest.
Yeah, he says him and Sean Strickland are the two best middleweights in the world. Have you been present for any of those sparring rounds? He said they were pay-per-view worthy.
I wasn't there. I've watched the film of them. No, they're great rounds. They're both high-level guys, and I think both guys are very respectful of one another, and as they should be. And the gym stays in the gym. The gym training stays in the gym. So it's like, that doesn't belong, in the media or
sure.
People shouldn't talk too much about that. But yeah, these guys are super high level athletes and pushing one another to another level.
Yeah, that's great. I want to go back to a couple weeks ago. Kayla Harrison obviously had her huge win, seemingly locked up her title shot, faced some adversity and stuff like that with the cut, the eye. What did you take away from that fight, watching her have to kind of navigate through all that stuff, the stuff she said about the weight cut afterwards? What was that week like in your takeaways from the fight?
Another one, wasn't her best performance, but I thought she fought fairly well. She just had not the best. Her second round wasn't great. Round 1, round 3 were great, clear, easy, domination. But round 2 was a little too close, right? Really it was. I thought that Caitlin was fighting pretty defensively. She really hit her with one technique. She stopped some takedowns and hit her with one elbow. That's basically what she did. And because the second round, not a lot happened, that made that round pretty close. One judge gave it to Caitlin. It was a pretty even round. But two judges had it 30-27. Again, there's stuff we learned from that fight, and Kayla really is on another level than these other girls, and I think that she's bringing back excitement to that division. I think that division really needs it. Yeah. It's the level of talent is not super deep there, and she is an outlier, and she's charismatic, and she is, I think, head and shoulders above the rest of the females, and I think she, with the way she talks and the way she looks and what she's capable of, she brings a lot of excitement to the division, and I think it needs it, and I think she's going to do big things.
Were you worried for her because of all the stuff with the weight cut, like whether she was actually going to be able to compete or how it might affect her performance?
I was on the first one.
Yeah.
The first time she made it.
More so than this, when she said she had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, she was okay. I knew the weight wasn't too crazy. The first one was the first time making it, is the one you worry about.
Yeah.
And, she felt fine and fought fine, and I think that, it's things are never perfect, but I was confident. I mean, I was confident in her all the way through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she can overcome that adversity. I mean, I'm sure she's been through harsher, but you just hear the stuff she kind of revealed afterwards, and you just wonder how sustainable this is, I guess. Do you feel like she can keep doing this? Maybe just more time in between the fights?
I think she can keep doing it. I think she'll be fine. I think that, you keep making it, you'll start getting a little lighter. She might lose some muscle mass, just from the yo-yo drop, getting bigger, getting smaller, getting bigger, getting smaller. I think she'll end up probably losing a little bit of muscle mass, and I think she'll probably start making the weight a little easier in the future, just because she'll burn off more muscle from all the low calorie cardio or long endurance type exercise she's been doing just to keep her weight down. I think that'll kind of change. I think it'll change her body type a little bit over time. And
I think she said she got heavier than she wanted between these two fights, right? Because of the hand.
Yeah, that's true. So she had surgery and was out of the gym completely.
Yeah.
And she is a gym rat. She usually takes a week off, maybe, and then she's in there, pretty much twice a day, year round, more than most. So she did gain some weight, and especially after a big cut, when you make that weight like that, you really know what it's like to go without, and you tend to overeat. This is a problem all fighters and wrestlers and any weight class sport. If you have a big cut, everyone tends to yo-yo. Like what it is to go without, and then you desire a lot of food and drinks and whatever.
Look at Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah,
it's like the most extreme example.
No,
probably.
It happens, dude.
Yeah.
And usually when people go up in weight, they stop yo-yoing. Like Dustin he would get bigger when he fought at 45 than he does at 55, because he was killing himself to make 45. Then he would spike and eat and go all the he would get even heavier. Mm-hmm. But then when he was now as a lightweight, he's leveled off, and he doesn't have those extremes anymore.
Were you back there with Kayla in the room when they did the split screen thing with Julianna doing her interview?
Yeah.
What was what were you guys saying after they took Kayla off screen and Julianna just completely ignored her?
I mean, we just laughed. We almost expected it,
Yeah.
Like I expect that. I don't think really the girls want any piece of Kayla.
Yeah, I mean, I understand Julianna wanting Amanda. I mean, like, they've done the fights before. In her mind, maybe she's more, the unknown of Kayla is more worrisome than facing Amanda again, even though that last fight was really, really bad for her. But you think this probably happens? I think the UFC wants it, so I think what they want, they'll probably get.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I would think so. I think she's, making her claim, and I think she's the future of the division. Like it's gonna happen eventually. Like, you can't run from it forever, and you might as well face the music. It's here.
I interviewed Julianna's coach Mike Valley last week. I don't know if you know him very well at all or anything, but he was basically saying, like, everyone underestimates Julianna. When Kayla gets in front of her, she's going to be surprised what the difference is in reality compared to, like, on tape and all these things you'd expect him to say. But I mean, everyone's expecting Kayla to go out there and kill her. That we can just be honest. I don't know what the odds will be. How do you keep, I guess, like, her focus and just make sure that you guys do take Julianna 100% seriously?
Of course. Yeah. Every fight is dangerous. Like, Caitlin was dangerous. Julianna is dangerous. I mean, everybody's dangerous. Like, you can't overlook anybody in this game. The game is crazy. I mean, you just have to train your hardest and try to tip the percentages in your favor as best you can in every which way you can, and then go out and fight your fight. And then even then, nothing's guaranteed. And like, it showed, like, we were confident that we were, we had the better athlete and the better fighter. But, like, the second round was tough in that Caitlin fight. And you can have those moments in any fight. And sometimes it's styles. And one punch can change everything. And but, I think at the end of the day, Kayla is the best fighter and athlete in that division.
You're down there in South Florida. Amanda Nunes posted that video afterwards. Like, what's the scuttlebutt you're hearing? Like, do you hear she's training? Do you think she's going to come back and fight the winner of Julianna and Kayla?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what if she wants to fight the winner of those. I don't know if she wants to come back and fight Peña. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think she wants the winner. I think that's maybe what we're trending towards, because that's the biggest fight, right? Whoever comes out of that, especially if it's Kayla.
I haven't heard her say anything. I mean, I know she's retired now. I'm sure if her and Kayla fought, it would be a very big fight.
Yeah, those MMA retirements just last so long all the time, right?
Yeah.
You're stuck, at least. Did you ever think about coming?
I never retired, so
True.
It was easy.
You never made the announcement, right?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I just never thought it was necessary. Like, I thought about fighting, and then, actually, I scheduled for a fight, and then I think I had injury problems and pulled out, and then maybe I was going to do it again. Then I just realized, I don't think I can do this anymore, and just kind of faded out. I just didn't find it necessary to make a big deal of it.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has kind of filled the void of not being there for competition, I imagine it's you. You're there every week. You're as involved in the sport as anyone.
Right. I mean, I think that's what made it easy for me, is that, when a fighter's getting to that retirement age, it's all about what's next. You got to have something that fills that void. What you're doing for fun, what drives you, and I'm lucky enough that I got a job that I like.
Yeah, I guess that dovetails perfectly into Jorge Masvidal, right? He announced his retirement. Now he's coming back. Yeah. Did he approach you or discuss this decision beforehand, or do you just say, "Coach, I'm coming back. I'll be in the gym"?
Hey, I'll be back on Monday.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Because he did his camp for Nate out in Vegas.
Right.
So I didn't really see him for at all for that camp. And he'd been focusing on boxing for some time, and I thought he looked good in the fight. I thought he won the fight.
Yeah, me too.
And I was actually surprised when George came back to the gym, how good a shape he was in. He was actually in really good shape, and he had obviously been training, and I'm talking like wrestling shape. He was jumping right in and wrestling with the best guys, and he didn't get out of shape. He's focused and yeah, he's ready. He has that itch and wants to do it again, and he's obviously a big star. And there's a lot of matchups that I'm sure people want to see, and there's a lot of fights I would like to see. So,
such as
him with anybody. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know. I haven't really heard much of. I guess I'd have to see the rankings and really take a look. But
do you want him to fight there's obviously, I think since he left, which hasn't been that long, welterweight has evolved. Welterweight's crazy, such a great division. Do you want to see him fight one of these young killers, like a Jack Della Maddalena, or someone who's around?
I'd like to see him, in more of an exciting.
Mm-hmm. Someone who will strike with him this time,
like a BMF type.
Yeah.
Fight, another thing like this. I don't know if like a Gaethje type of guy if he went up.
That'd be sick.
Always like the Diaz brothers would be great.
Yeah, Nick's got a fight coming up. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Or, Nate for the third time.
Yeah.
Whatever. there's 20 fights that would probably excite me with George. He's exciting, man. He's always fun to watch, and he's the man.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. UFC is kind of making an annual stop in Miami now, so I think he kind of hinted first quarter next year. That's when he'd like to be back. If he's already in good shape, I imagine another 5 months he'd be very sharp looking.
Giant draw, and I always say it all the time. I think he's got more weapons than anybody in the sport. He's got so much technique and so much skill, and can do so many different things. He's fun to watch, and he's good on the mic as well, right? He can talk.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. Probably something announced in the next couple of months here. So I guess kind of in a similar vein, but different. Dustin Poirier, the last guy I wanted to ask you about, he was mulling the retirement. I talked to him on like August 1st, and he said, I'm going on vacation with Jolie, going to take 30 days and come to a conclusion on what I'm going to do. He obviously wants to keep fighting. He's saying maybe now 2 more. Yeah. Did he consult you in this decision at all? Say,
yeah,
Coach?
We chatted about it. He's, I don't know the details of everything, and I don't know how much is out there, but I know he wants to do in a perfect world, he'd love to do a retirement in Louisiana.
Yep.
And
they're talking about a New Orleans show. I know the commission put something out saying UFC approached them.
Yeah, and then it's just setting things up, and he just can't say goodbye. He's been saying that for a while. Like,
yes.
All right, I think I'm gonna do 1 more, and that'll be it. And then it's 1 more and 1 more and 1. I mean, he's been saying this for 15 fights.
Yeah.
And killing guys, and beating the best guys in the world, like doing this. Sometimes you don't want to. They always say you don't want to hear a guy say stuff like that. You don't want to. But dude, he's been saying that for 15 fights probably.
Yes.
And he just keeps winning and beating the best guys in the world and looking great and looking good in the gym. But he's done so much. He's got a boatload of money. He's and I think he just loves it too much. And once he's out of the ring and back home, I think he goes stir crazy, and it's what makes him tick, and he's what's next? Yeah. I gotta have what's next.
Yeah, he has that famous quote from the Joe Rogan podcast, right, where he's like, I need some sort of conflict. I need to be in constant conflict in my life. That's like the only way I can continue to move forward. So it feels like it's going to be kind of hard for him to let go. That's
him. But I think it's a good idea to have a final fight. No, this is the one, this is the date, and that way, you've committed yourself. And there would be nothing sweeter than doing it in Louisiana.
Yeah. Do you, I know you mentioned maybe Justin Gaethje for Jorge, but do you feel like this trilogy needs to happen? Especially, you kind of said the first fight was in Arizona, Gaethje's backyard, second fight neutral territory, and if they could do the third.
That is definitely an option. There's a handful of guys that would make sense for him too. I think they've talked about Gaethje. They've talked about like a Max trilogy. They've talked about
Connor 4, maybe.
Connor, maybe a Diaz, something like this. All these fights would be huge. I think all those fights mentioned would excite him. That's another thing for him. I think it has to be exciting to him. And just not any fight will get him pumped up to hit the pavement and get in that gym. But and he's a guy too who doesn't want a walkover. He wants a tough fight, and he knows he's still capable of obviously being anybody in the world. He just had that great fight with Makhachev, and it was a nice tight fight.
Yeah,
it was did one judge have it 2-2 maybe?
I think one judge had 2-2, the other two had it 3-1.
There was one round where he got taken down at the very end. It was like the second or third, where Islam maybe stole the round from him. But if that hadn't happened, it would have been clearly 2-2. So, but he was right there, right there.
Well, and the fact, it's come out since all the camp stuff he went through, and definitely like in the fight too.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think he was going to be able to fight. He was definitely injured pretty bad. He had a really bad rib injury. And I'm like, oh, there's no way. But he was also in a situation where he couldn't push it back because he kind of like snaked in there for the title shot. So it's like, no, I'm fighting, and I'm
they
like,
move on.
I don't know if he'll be able to. And he did it. I was actually surprised.
Yeah, it's so tough because I go back with Dustin too. I think we all want the best for him, and he wanted this title dream so badly, and he had the 3 attempts, and he said like finish the story going in, and might not happen for him. And I think he was saying like, if I'm not going to be able to be champion, I don't know why I'm doing this, and that was kind of where the whole retirement arc came in. So to like kind of move on from that, do you feel like he's kind of accepted that may just not happen for him, but there's still, we know his resume and his history, and he's an iconic fighter in the sport regardless of that?
Yeah, I mean he's I think confident and content with his accomplishments, and yeah, I think that, and who knows, so many times after you have a title fight, he's thought every time he's got there, he thought he's never going to get there again.
I know.
And bing bang boom, 1 or 2 knockouts later, there he is again.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah,
who knows?
He could fight for the title 3 more times.
Yeah.
Even though he's only going to fight 1 or 2 more times, but with him, you never know.
Yeah, anything's possible. It's crazy. I look forward to, whatever it is. If it's a retirement fight in Louisiana, absolutely making sure I'm going to be there. That's going to be a real special moment for our sport, I think.
It'll be so big. It'll be, dude, everybody will be pumped for that. I think it'll do big numbers. And, especially I think Dustin gets, the respect of every peer in the sport, right? Every fighter has tremendous respect for Dustin.
And that means a lot to him, you can tell.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, nobody fights with more, like, heart and grit than this guy. And nobody's been in more wars and dug deep and and especially, fellow fighters got to respect that and understand how tough that is. And not everybody can do that, but he's a special guy.
Yeah, he truly is. Well, we could talk about Dustin all day. I'll let you go here in a second. Just wanted to ask one last thing. Very random. I think I've asked you this before, and I'm sure it's hard to even recall. Is there a game plan you put together for a fighter that has like been flawless? Like the way you put it together in the gym, and then they went in there, and you're like, that is literally as close to how I imagined it and drew it up to how it went?
Well, I wish that I could take credit for it. But I would say the best one would be Masvidal's whining, but that was George's idea.
Okay.
So
you can take partial credit. You're in the team.
I agreed and said, hey, yeah, that's a hell of an idea.
Yeah.
But it was his idea. But that doesn't come together any better than that.
What was plan B if like he missed and got taken down or whatever, confident he'd get back up pretty quick?
Yeah. We put a lot of time on working get-ups,
yeah.
So if this doesn't work, we also need to get back to our feet and, do some damage.
Yeah.
So he had some other stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of bag of tricks, right? But that was pretty special.
Yeah. On the flip side, I guess, since I know you're always honest, is there one where you were like, you thought it was going to go and you're like, I misread that one completely, like in terms of a game plan?
I'm sure. I don't even want to bring some of those ones up.
That's okay. Yeah.
There were some other ones like maybe, Horiguchi fighting with, you know what? We worked a lot on like whizzer and wall, like using the wall to get back to our feet with Caldwell, right? But we weren't sure if it would work on the ropes. So we had some questions about this, and we don't have a ring at the gym, so we're like, well, let's work. And then then they ended up fighting. He got taken down. Caldwell's a very high level wrestler, but he was able to use the ropes as like a wall, like a cage, and he had success with it. And then I think that Caldwell was unsure of like what was going on, and I think he thought it was the ropes that caused him problems.
Okay.
So then they rematched in the cage.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. It was like he was able to just use the wall and keep himself up so he wouldn't get flattened out and score and get back to his feet. And it was that was one of those plans that 100% came together, and you weren't certain 100 for sure, especially with the ropes being a factor.
Yeah, that's interesting. How is Horiguchi doing? Does he have anything lined up, or?
He, I think, is maybe New Year's Eve
For the Bellator show.
Horizon,
yeah, Bellator Horizon. They do that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's in stone.
Yeah. Love to see him back in the UFC, but we'll see what happens.
Man.
No, he is the man.
How's that work?
All right, appreciate the time, Mike. We could talk for hours,
Thank
but
you,
I
man.
appreciate your insight, and we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.